The Governor of Plateau State, Mutfwang, joins me on the news at 7 now. Thanks so much for joining us, Your Excellency. It's been 5 days since the Supreme Court judgment. You've described it as a huge relief and a huge burden, and you've promised to not only carry that burden bestowed on you, but discharge it effectively. How has it been so far?
Thank you, Abosede. It's been 5 days of celebration, and we also have taken deliberate time to begin to reflect on governance. We can't waste any time, but people are still celebrating. People are still rejoicing, and this Sunday, this weekend generally, we would climax the celebrations. The Muslims will be thanking God in their mosques. The Christians will be thanking God at an interdenominational service on Sunday. But beyond that, we're trying to see how to steer back the ship of governance on the right track.
And that's critical because that's what Plateau residents need. But in the meantime, let's talk about the PDP lawmakers who were actually sacked by the Court of Appeal. Is there any optimism that they will get back to their positions as legislators?
Well, where there is a wrong, there is always a remedy. That is the principle of law. And we want to thank Nigerians for this consensus that injustice was done for those National and State Assembly members on the Plateau. We're discussing, we're exploring. There's a lot of discussion going on in the legal community as to where do we find the remedy for this wrong. Because within the present framework of our jurisprudence, there is no ready-made remedy. But we're looking at options. And I'm sure when we eventually get to court, the court would also look at its inherent jurisdiction to do justice. And I'm sure that we'll find a solution somewhere, somehow.
All right. And, well, you know, just before that judgment was actually delivered at the Supreme Court last Friday, we saw you, shake hands very warmly with the governorship candidate of the APC, Dr. Yilwat. Many say that picture is actually pregnant.
Oh, sure. Like I said in one of my interviews, for me, there is neither victor nor vanquished. We have a state to run, and we're going to run the state for everybody. I'm governor of the entire state, and everybody within the state is my responsibility. Therefore, we welcome every stakeholder on board, those who opposed us, those who supported us. There's no time for bitterness. There's no time for sustaining division. We need to forge ahead together if we're going to bring good governance and the dividends of democracy to our people.
And it does appear there's still some level of bitterness, when you go to the local level. And it's believed that that judgment of the Court of Appeal, which initially sacked you, actually, created some kind of tension among communities. What are you doing as governor now that, litigations are over? What are you doing to ensure that the existing tension does not escalate at the local level?
Yeah, well, bad feelings as to how the whole thing went are bound to occur. This is natural. But this is where we must put on our caps as leaders and ensure that we do not allow such feelings to be perpetuated. We must find a way to puncture these ill feelings so that we will be able to forgive one another and move on.
Governor Mutfwang, let's talk about security on the Plateau and what your government is doing to stem the tide and ensure that peace is restored on the Plateau.
Yes, thank you, Abosede. In the aftermath of the Christmas massacre we had, what we're trying to do is to be able to stabilize the system. We're addressing the victims of the crisis through the provision of emergency relief materials. We want to put on record the support of the federal government NEMA particularly has come in strongly. We want to also place on record the international development partners, United Nations organizations, and other support groups who have come in, and we're trying to make sure that we provide some relief materials in the meantime. But besides that, the security agencies have also stepped up their game. I understand, I'm yet to be fully briefed, that quite a number of arrests have been made, and there's a pushback on these terrorists. But we are also looking at how to be able to build both inter and intra-community harmony. So we are meeting with different categories of people to see how we rebuild confidence in one another. Now, let me say this, that this thing is not about a clash. This is what happened during the Christmas period was pure acts of terrorism, and we are dealing with it as such. We therefore want to encourage our security agencies to be professional in what they are doing and ensure that no culprit or suspect is allowed to go scot-free without being thoroughly investigated and prosecuted. But on the whole, we have had reinforcements from the security agencies, and we're also conscientizing the local communities to become more vigilant in trying to decipher incursions into their territories early enough and send in early warning signals so we can avert the possibility of those attacks. So we are doing our best, and we hope that not only will we be able to forestall future occurrences, but we'll also be able to look at how to resettle the victims of the recent crisis, particularly, and others in their communities where they were displaced.
Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, thank you very much for joining us on TVC News at 7.
Thank you, Abosede. Have a good evening.
You too.